But that never really gets to the heart of the issue because we're never really talking about, is it safe for everyone? Can everyone actually have an opportunity to thrive and succeed? And in order for us to do that, we have to rethink who this was built for and who's going to succeed.
Welcome back to
Salt
Sauna
Soul. I wasn't ready. I didn't know. I didn't know.
You know what?
you
I
know
just
what?
realized we are all like very tonal.
Yes.
We are.
We like, okay, this means it's going to be a really good show today.
It's going to be exciting.
We are
show.
in sync. Hold on, I'm going to lean back like I mean it. Like, we're going to be in sync. All right, let's do this. Let's do this. We got a wonderful guest today.
I am thrilled to have a guest, Miss Deborah Biddle.
Yes.
And she is with The People Company. She is the founder, primary principal. And today we are talking all things business, leadership, wellness, and, okay, you got to tell us about your book.
Will do.
Yes.
So my book, it's called No More Patch Jobs, and it was released just in January on MLK's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
And so in that same day, it became an Amazon bestseller. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome.
That is fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So the book is about it. Well, I start off telling a story about our family and how that was a gut check for me as a diversity and inclusion consultant to really figure out, do I really mean what I say when inclusion hits home? And then we take a pivot from that to organizations. And are they really doing the work when it comes to equity and inclusion? And the bigger concept in the book is that you can't just patch on to existing systems, but you have to tear down and rebuild from the ground up so that everyone has inclusion, not just those people who were entitled to it from the start.
So you're a rebel. Because what you're talking about, I mean, straight up, you're a rebel. You talk about like tearing down the walls and rebuilding the stud from the stud up.
Yes.
To make something.
When you think about the organizations that most of us have worked in and been educated in, they were never designed for everyone. They were designed for the privileged, the majority culture.
Yeah.
And when they talk about, okay, we want to make it something where everyone belongs, they just tack on a little bit of a training here or tweak a little bit of a policy. But that never really gets to the heart of the issue because we're never really talking about, is it safe for everyone? Can everyone actually have an opportunity to thrive and succeed? And in order for us to do that, we have to rethink who this was built for and who's going to succeed here. And then many times that requires us dismantling something altogether and then rethinking it with the people who are impacted at the table to have that discussion, or if you will, to continue the construction metaphor on the ground, building it brick by brick.
I love it. So on that, I feel like we should have some tea because we're about
Because I'm about to jump in. And so
I know, and we're about to.
She know me. She know that look I have. You know what I'm saying? A little twinkle in my eye. I'm excited.
Talking tea. So I'm going to pour you, and you're going to have some iced tea today. So it is mint tea. We're doing our mint blend, which is available at Halo Heat Sauna Studios.
Oh, you have your own blend.
Yes.
Go, girl.
Yes,
Who
honey.
knew? I love tea, so
Yes.
I'm happy to know this.
So you're going to tell everybody how it is over ice. We're going to have it hot.
I am. It smells good.
So Everly Teas is this is the mint blend, but it's specific to the
delicious.
studio.
It's three different blends.
Sweetened?
I just put some sweetener in. I put a little honey in it.
A little honey.
Okay.
I put a little honey in it. Just kind of.
But it's even good without the honey,
yes.
It's delicious. I just wondered because usually mint tea isn't this sweet.
But this also is a blend between peppermint, spearmint, and chocolate mint. So that's why
Okay.
they're having some extra flavor notes in there.
Yes,
And it's,
very good. Very tasty.
So, thank you.
And what is the blend called?
This is just called Mint Blend.
Mint.
Yep.
Yes, this is the Mint Blend, and you can get it at Halo Heat Sauna Studios.
Okay.
All right, so now you went straight in.
No,
You went straight.
we didn't even talk about your background
Yes.
fully.
So wait,
You know what I'm
so
saying?
because wait a minute, I heard you did TEDx. I
did.
heard you're out in the community. So we need to tell the people a little bit about you.
Okay. I'll try to give a quick overview because my background is weird and varied. Okay. I grew up actually about an hour northeast of here in Waukegan, Illinois, and went to University of Illinois for undergrad, Keller Graduate School for grad school, and then started my career in accounting and finance at Xerox, Motorola, Abbott Labs. So
you're
big companies.
Yeah.
And I worked in every accounting and finance job you could have, all the way up to division controller at Abbott when I left. And I left there to take care of my youngest son, but also to start a music career. So I'm a gospel singer, and I recorded a couple of projects back in the early 2000s and went touring around mostly the Midwest, but throughout the country and a little bit in the Caribbean, and did that for, I don't know, 8 years or so, and then moved to Wisconsin with my husband, who was in sales at the time. Okay. And while there, he went into full-time ministry, which was good, but a shock to our family system and budget. So, so I went and got a job in career transition work, which I never thought I would do, given I'm a numbers person. And my sister's in HR, and she was like, yeah, you're gonna last about 2 seconds and all of that. But I actually really liked it because it was an opportunity for me to see people many times at the lowest place in their life when they were losing their jobs, and for me to be able to coach them and help them figure out who they really are and what they really want, and then get the job of their dreams. So I love that work. And then I got to coach executives in how to be better leaders. And from there, I worked with a friend of my husband's actually, and she kept telling me every day she would come into the office, she was like, why are you here? Why are you here?
It always takes one person.
Yes. Wow. Every day for about 2 months, she would say this. And so eventually she planted the seed that helped me to launch my company. So I started my company in 2016. So actually May 16th, 2026 will be our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
You got to go big. You got to do something big now.
Okay.
I am. And so while she told me that, I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought I was going to launch career transition work. I wanted to work with African-American women mid-career, but of course, those are the women who cannot afford to have coaches because their companies won't pay for it. So then she said, well, just go speak at this conference. It's for nonprofit leaders. So I went there. I did a presentation on fundraising in communities of color. And from there, I was hired by a healthcare system to do unconscious bias training for their organization. Now, I had no idea what unconscious bias was at the time, but I was like, sure, I can do that. So I went and I trained their entire company and have been working with them ever since. And that word of mouth was really what built my business. And, you know, the Lord blessed, and it's been, it was really fruitful until certain changes in our government happened. And so now like many other companies, we're trying to figure out how we can do this work in the climate that we're in right now. Yeah. So that is
so needed in the climate that we're in right now.
Right. But, you know, people are afraid. Yeah. And it's not just that they don't want to do culture work, it's the economy. And so when organizations are faced with whether they're going to make the widget or provide the service or do culture and organizational development training, guess what goes out the window?
Yeah. You know, so, oh my goodness. So I know we had some things that we were going to talk about. There's so many things now, just in this little bit that you've told us. I kind of want to go in like 5 different directions. So I squirrel a lot.
That is fine.
I'll ring you in.
But why?
I did. Look, I got one job here. You know, I got one job.
Your one job is to rein her in.
He doesn't do a good job of it.
You know what I'm saying? I at least try to hold on to the marriage.
But
I can only go so far,
But no, so you touched on so many things, and even as I put like my wellness hat on, lady that asked you about, why are you here?
You had a pause.
You
had a phone call.
I know, and I bet it was the. I tried.
Okay, so now you mentioned so far about how making a space so companies can make space for everyone, right? And rebuilding the scaffolding and all of that. Now, I can hear some business owners thinking like, how can you possibly build a culture or environment that actually really make it where it's accessible to really everyone, given the challenges of just business demands, right? I mean, even when it's all said and done, I still got to get these widgets out the door, right? Mm-hmm. We still got to make our sales. We still got to make sure that the company culture, at least that we all can still work and be cohesive. If everybody is, on their own agenda, isn't that not just chaos? How do we kind of still learn how to work together? And then it's just,
Yeah. So I think if you think
that.
of it like you would any other building project, you don't build the whole building at once. It's a project, and you plan it out, and you decide, am I going to start with this room or that room? I suggest starting at the foundation.
Okay.
And for me, the foundation of any organization is the leadership. So I would start with a lens to say, who am I and what am I doing? That is either facilitating everyone being able to come to work and thrive, or what am I not doing? So that's one. And then an easy place to start is to look at hiring practices. What are we doing there? And look at, is there anything from a bias perspective? Is there anything that is favoring one group or another, limiting one group or another? Is there anything in our process that, from a complexity standpoint, like I know some organizations will have people do a phone screen. Well, even before that, they'll have them fill out an application. Then they'll do a video interview. Then they do some kind of phone screen with HR. And then they will bring them in for a panel of interviews with the whole day of people, and then they will shortlist and bring them in for yet another. Some organizations have them do presentations, some have them fill out questionnaires. Does it take all that to hire? And still, they might, bring in a second or a third round of folks. Does it really?
And the crazy thing, I've been through all of that, right? So I was like, oh my God, I've done a whole pitch deck, and I'm like, wait, do I have a job or not? Like,
And then that disadvantages people who don't have, they may not have transportation, may not be able to take 5 days off for your interview process. And so I just wonder, does it really take that? And then for the job, look at what is required to do the job, and not your whole laundry list of, if I had the perfect person drop down from the atmosphere, this is what they would have to have. Look at reality and say, what does it take to do this job, and who can do it, and then bring those people in and give them a legitimate chance. And then when they come in, how are you onboarding them? How are you training them, developing them? Are you giving them the opportunities to succeed once they get in your organization? So that's just one area that you can look at. And then policy and procedure overall. Have you created policies and procedures that are equitable for everyone who comes in the organization, whether you're talking about LGBTQ rights, mothers, people who work full-time, part-time? Are they the same for men? Are they the same for younger people or older people, people with disabilities, people who think differently, neurological differences? On and on and on we could go. So that's just one piece. So I would say choose your spot. I wouldn't do everything all at once, but it could be that you say to yourself, I want to look at how we're treating people of color. You can focus there. So I say all that to say there's just a number of places, or you could say even transportation. I know of one organization that built their plant out in a really remote area because it was cheaper and it seemed like the financial thing to do. But there were no bus routes, there was no any other public transportation. So you either had to have a car or you had to pay for Uber or some other way to get there.
Yeah.
And they were wondering, why are there nobody applying? Because they can't get there.
Yeah.
And so then to help out, they decided that they were going to provide transportation. So they had their own buses and their own vans stopping in various neighborhoods, community centers, and then they were able to see the diversity that they wanted. But employees in general were applying for people apply for the jobs and they were able to get there. So thinking outside the box is what I'm saying.
You know what? But that's so wild that you said that, because I recall as a little girl, so my dad was a controls engineer. And at one point he was working at a power plant, a nuclear power plant. And I remember it was like my mom would bundle us all up and we would drop my dad off at the carpool location, but it was like a bus that would come and pick up all the guys. And then they would go to the next town over and pick up all those guys. And then they would take them all the way out to the power plant company. And it was like, now that you say that, it's like, as a business, how should, you know, executives, leadership be thinking like outside of the box, as you said, in order to make sure that they're getting the right people that can do the job, but knowing that sometimes those right people are not in maybe the immediate vicinity, or they may look a little bit different or think a little bit different. Because then I started thinking about like how it was back in the day when I used to work with some IT folks. I'd be like, I know I need to bring in donuts for the database guys. I know I need to just, you know, talk random guy jokes with, you know, the developers. Like I need, like, how do you as a leader, or how should you be thinking as a leader to make sure that you're solving for some of those differences?
Yeah, and even with that, you know, if you build, I have a client that has built their company in Northeast America, and they're shocked that they don't have very many Black or Hispanic or Indian or Asian people there. And the reason is because they're in Northeast America. And so they have, you know, tried and tried. They've done all sorts of equity and inclusion stuff, but people don't want to move there. It's cold and they're in a community that isn't necessarily all that welcoming. And so what they've done is opened up more remote opportunities, and they've seen the applicants from people of color actually increase, and they've been able to hire them. But what they didn't prepare for was the fact that they needed to do some foundational culture work to teach people that now that we have this group of people who are different than Northeasterners, how are we going to treat them? How might we examine our own biases so that when we bring these folks into the office, they're emotionally, mentally, physically safe, and they're able to do work, have conversations, connect. How might we need to educate ourselves on things like basic history of our country, of the places where these people work, and how do we engage them in terms of connecting them with maybe a buddy system, teaching them our culture as an organization, our values, and if we really value equity and inclusion and racial equity in particular, how does that look, and what do we need to do here to make sure that what we say we believe is actually what we do.
Okay. And I kind of like what I heard from it, what you just said, was a certain level of mindfulness, right? And then I was like, oh, mindfulness, oh, that's wellness space. That's right up our alley. So I also wondering is, because it's like mindfulness or mind state, do you find that, you know, certain aspects with leadership, the leaders themselves working on their well-being and the way that they choose to take care of themselves, and then in turn, you know, just as a leader, can it permeate into how they manage their other teams or whatever? So like dealing with like stress reduction, you know, I mean, because I can see all this change can be daunting, right? Especially if it's not a culture, if you're dealing with culture or other facets that you want to fix it, but you also, I'm not accustomed to it. I'm not accustomed to thinking this way. And that creates friction points, and that friction points is stress at times.
Yeah.
right?
Everyday stress, whether it is around culture change or just the stress of leading an organization, can definitely impact your mindset. It can cause you to be distracted, frustrated, agitated. And when you show up that way, that translates to your team. I like to do an exercise with leaders called a mirror exercise. And I'll literally have them hold up a mirror in front of their own face and look at it and ask themselves the question, what is it like to be on the other side of my leadership? And look in the mirror and be honest about that, because a lot of times, we get upset and we get frustrated. Our reaction is stronger than it needs to be. And if you think about it in terms of being a pond, and if you throw a pebble into it, it creates these ripples that go further and further out in concentric circles. If you think about those being the people in your organization, you're impacting them. So a lot of times negatively, if you pound on a table, or if you yell at somebody, or if you're really short with somebody, and you make snap decisions that really haven't been thought through. So for sure, all of that impacts your organization. Your stress directly flows out to the people that you interact with, and then they, in turn, unless they have really good emotional intelligence and self-control, they will project that to someone else.
Do you provide them with tools for self-regulation and things of that nature?
We talk a lot about that in terms of, just, and I'm sure you know this stuff already, but making sure you get adequate rest at night. That's a huge one. Making sure that you take moments to think and to recharge during the day. So whether that is taking a walk or sitting at your desk and taking some deep breaths. I mean, Bill Gates and some other leaders are famously known for taking these think breaks where they will just clear their schedule. And he's known for taking up to an hour a day. But other leaders I know of will take a whole week or two out of the year. They take no phone calls, no appointments related to work, and they just think and clear their minds. And so if we can work that into our days, I believe that's a good practice to have. Making sure that you get time to exercise, whatever that looks like for you. Some people will say, I like to do a stretch and just move my body so that I can get some of the tension out. I also think having somebody to talk to, whether it's a therapist or a friend or a colleague, that you can just say what's really on your mind and they won't judge you for it or spread it around the office. Those are keys. And then being able to understand what it is in your schedule. I think for all of us, what it is that we need to do and what we can delegate to somebody else, and help create an environment where we're mentoring them in such a way that we're developing other people and not just hoarding all of the responsibility for ourselves, because we don't have to do everything. Everything will keep going. I heard somebody say the other day that when it comes to us and whether or not we're really important or critical to an organization, we should think of ourselves like, if you stick your finger in this cup of water, you feel it for a moment, but when you take it out, no one cares. It's gone. Nothing has changed. It's still gonna be tea when we get done. So in that same sense, we're not so important that if we stop doing something or if we leave the organization, it's still going to be an organization. Things will still carry on. So
even with that, as you think about leadership, what kind of words would you have for a leader in that position if they're trying to make that transition out, or if they've built their whole persona around that job that they have, and now, especially when you're doing the transition coaching, like, you don't have that job anymore, and so you now are coming to that realization. It's like, was I not that important? Or like that almost break in the psyche that some people may go through. What would you tell, or what kind of advice do you give that type of scenario?
Yeah, that's a good question. I went through that myself. When I left my corporate job, it affected me more than I thought. I made the choice to do it. It wasn't like anybody said, get out. I decided to do it. But then probably 2 months later, I didn't know who I was anymore. I wasn't a finance person. I wasn't a controller in a Fortune 200 company. I was just trying to figure it out. And what helped me was to understand what I'm good at and what my value is, what I bring to the table. And that doesn't change regardless of the job that I have or the role that I play in an organization. I'm still a leader. I'm still very good at administration. I'm still a good singer. I'm still
Which we got to come back to that, though. We got to come. I need to know more about that too.
and I'm still good at advising people and helping them solve problems. That hasn't changed. If anything, it's gotten better. And so understanding who you are first is the critical piece. And then once you know that, you can figure out which organizations you want to be a part of or you don't. If you just want to stay at home and raise your children, you can still be good at, you can still utilize those skills
Because it's house
right in the
management,
home.
man.
That's right.
Family
It's house
management. That's serious. That's
and
hard.
you're imparting the values and the knowledge that you have to the most important people in your life. So
I totally get it. So I have a quick question in terms of like, and I think I have been guilty of this. This is why this is very personal to me, right? I want our viewers to kind of understand the costs that you pay if you too guard it, whether it's in leadership or right when you work in your job, like to be too guarded. I can remember a time when I was in the exhibit industry doing graphic production, and I personally wouldn't let nobody know anything about me. Right? I walled it off, like to the point where my coworkers and my own like boss and everything, like it was a small company. Nobody even knew I had kids. Like they didn't even know I had children. And I had 2 girls that I was raising as a single dad. And I just was like, that's not their business. Right? Now, you know, the perspective, to give you a little perspective, I was the only African American in it. Like most of the companies, most of the time I'm in there, you know, jobs or whatever, I've been mostly the only one or a couple African American men. You know what I'm saying? And in particular, I was like the only black person, but also the only minority, period. So it was an interesting thing and I think I self-imposed a certain level of guardedness, but I think it bit me in the butt. I'll be honest with you. After a few years, they let me go, and I actually love the job, you know. And I don't think it was because I wasn't doing the job well. I think it's because I didn't let them in, and I didn't realize the cost. So can you?
Well, I think part of why particularly people of color do that is because we've been burned before, or we grew up with mothers and fathers like mine who just said our family business is our business.
Oh, I remember that.
Don't be telling your business out in these streets.
Your business in the street, and don't let those people know who you are because they're not trustworthy.
Yeah.
So we've been told that. And we've experienced a lot of folks who are not trustworthy. So we go in already guarded.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate price that we pay for, you know, some people will say that's part of the black tax or the people of color tax that we pay in organizations because we feel this extra burden that we have to perform better, we have to be better, and the less entanglements we have, the better. Now, the downside, of course, of that is that people don't get to know you for who you are. They don't get to experience the wealth and the beauty of what a person from a different culture brings.
Yeah.
You don't get to really fully see them because you're not fully sharing yourself. And I still believe, even in my line of work, I don't believe everybody needs to know everything.
Yeah.
But
I
think
hit
there's
too
some,
much. I hit too much.
there's some give and take.
I think I did it too far. I took it to the extreme.
So you have to give a little bit of something,
You know?
in order to get to know people and for them to trust you too, because you play into their stereotypes as well. Because they think, you know, those people can't be trusted. They're shiftless. They're whatever. They're secretive. All of the stuff, and then you feed into that. So if we really want to create these environments of safety, everybody has to be willing to give a little bit of themselves. Yeah. Now, some would argue that the onus for that is the people who have the most power. And I would say that that's true too.
Okay.
Because they have to let other folks know that it's safe for them to be there and that they're welcome to be themselves, and that if they do something wrong or fail, that it's not the end of the world. And so the trust, sometimes people will say, you have to earn my trust. And I just don't believe that's the way we should start. I believe we should start by giving people trust. And then if it happens to be broken, then we let people know what they need to do to restore it. And we move forward from there. Because if it's always, we have to climb the mountain to get to the trust, we're rarely ever going to get there. So
yeah. Okay. And so I'm going to tell this one story and tell me how I should have supposed to respond. Hey, listen up. Goodness. I'm having a moment and I don't get this opportunity. I'm taking it.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? So, right, at the same company, right? It was, I was the graphic manager and the whole bit. And so my art director, my boss, cornered me early in the morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. Nobody was there. I decided to get there early. And so he cornered me and was like, hey, Steven, you know, if it's not, you know, known, obviously you're different. And, you know, you're unique, and that, you know, you may, if it so happen, if you ever ran across someone in the company that not necessarily, maybe basically implying like there's some off-color things or whatever, you know that you can come. I want to let you know that you can come to me, right, and talk to me about any of that. And I was so perplexed, right, how to respond to this, right. So I kind of want your advice on like, how do you supposed to respond to that? Because I took it as, I was like, okay, and I quickly got my oatmeal and I went and sat back down at my desk, because at the moment I wasn't thinking about the difference of our ethnicity, to be honest with you. I was just a guy early in the morning trying to get to the office before anybody. I came really early and I wanted to focus on my work with a bit of peace and quiet and start my day on my own pace before everything started getting really, really hectic once everybody come in. That's all I was thinking about. And then he brought all of that into he literally like stopped me and I know he meant well, but I don't know how should I have responded to that?
Well, in the moment, you could have said, thank you for saying that. I appreciate you leaving an open door for me to talk about this. And you could have shared with him what your experience had been so far, that it was good, bad, or indifferent. But in the moment, given what you did do, you probably should have circled back and said, hey, boss, Mr. Boss, I appreciate that you extended that opportunity for me to talk to you. And my experience here has been great so far. People have treated me well. And I just appreciate that you gave me that opportunity to share with you.
Thank you. I wish you was around in my life much sooner, because I did not handle that remotely like that.
What did he say or do after you?
It was just like, I was like, oh, okay. And then I scurried out, and then we just act like it never happened. That moment never existed ever again. Like
I would have been trying to analyze, why did he say that to me? What is something going on? Did somebody say something?
I did a little bit. I just wanted to move on. Because like I really was in there like, let me just work hard, do my job, do what they hire me and pay me for, and give excellence. That's how I was just thinking. I'm like, and I was like, let the work. I didn't want to touch all the other stuff, and I wanted to just be the work. And I think my work was very good. I think all the other stuff still played a part, and I still didn't avoid some of those facets. I think that, I don't think it was any of the people got like mad. I think also they didn't feel, I didn't let them feel connected to me. If I have assessed it now over 10 plus years now, like I didn't allow it to be a space where I didn't bond with them.
And people who don't feel connected to you when it comes time to make the hard decisions, guess who gets to go first? Yeah,
and I didn't know I was doing that. I actually didn't know that I was impeding on that, because I really was like the work, and then see how hard I'm working and I'm delivering and I'm getting it done, and
usually what happens that we don't know about is other folks in the organizations have mentors and sponsors who would have told them that, but a lot of times we don't. And so that's also the downside of not building relationships. Now, granted, in an ideal situation, somebody would have reached out to you and tried to mentor you and bring you into the organization and onboard you in a way that, you know, helped you get to know folks and you get to know them. That should have been what happened, but clearly it didn't. They just hired you and then let you do the work.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, in other folks' case, that's typically not what happens.
Okay.
But we don't know about it
Okay.
because that's the stuff that gets talked about or done without saying that
Okay.
for us.
All right. So my therapy session is done. I've had my moment.
And how do
I
you
worked
feel,
through.
Mr. Evans?
I feel a lot better. I
feel a lot
understand moving forward. Look, I got my temperature all got me going on. I relived the moment. Whew, Jesus, you know. And
Funny.
so
He's comedy all
This
day.
is your comic relief?
Yes, all day. And most of the time, I just sit here and just shake my head.
I've been wrestling with this to a certain degree for so long.
Well, you can't.
And my initial response was like, man, something happened to me because I was evaluating it primarily over the work. I'm like, I don't see how I should have got let go based off of the work and what you hired me for. And I was so focused on that. And I didn't think about all the things that happens.
So did you
just
create
around
stress for yourself?
I did.
Okay. Mr. Soul and
I did.
wellness.
I did. Well, this is before she was in my life and the whole bit. This is way before Donna, right? So I didn't get, you know, I was a work in progress. I was a mess. I was a mess. I was a man. I was a handful. But I'll take over this whole podcast. So let me.
So new question. So new question. No, let's talk about wellness now. Let's talk about wellness. So as leaders, how do you advise them on incorporating some wellness activities? Like or do you believe that wellness should be embedded in the organization and how they operate? And if so, what would you recommend?
So I do, but that's a hard one for people to wrap their minds around, not just even the leaders, but for employees. One of my clients, their leadership said, hey, yes, let's do wellness. They had a wellness committee, and the wellness committee invited folks in to do exercise during the lunch hour. They invited people to come do yoga. They invited therapists to come in once a month so that employees could see them and talk about their issues. They had added to their health plans opportunities for folks to join gyms and do all this stuff. Employees were scared to do it because it had been ingrained in them that that's not part of work. Yeah. And so I think that we have a lot of work to do as a country to really have this be part of the fabric of their lives. In fact, I myself felt that way for a long time. But over the last couple of years, I have really worked hard. And my husband will tell you, I had to really switch my whole mindset. And it took me a long time. We've been married 37 years. It'll be 37 years this year.
Oh, congratulations.
And it took me all this time to flip the switch in my head where I would exercise on a regular basis. And since I have started, I walk and I ride an elliptical every day for about an hour to an hour and a half. And it just it gives me an opportunity to clear my mind and it gives me more energy. But I didn't know that. I thought, oh, I'm just going to be more tired. I'm just not going to feel good. I'm going to, I don't have all the aches and pains that I used to have. But it really took some re-shifting in order to have that happen. And then he grew up as an athlete. So for him, he exercises every day, gets up at 4 or 5 in the morning to go do it. And I'm just like, carry on, brother. It won't be me. But he knows the benefits of it. My sons know the benefit of it because they were both athletes. And so they, watching them, I think eventually helped me get in the mindset of it. But what I have learned for those organizations that do value it, they have talked about how they see greater productivity, they see greater clarity, relationships are better, stress is lower, health issues have declined over time because just paying more attention to what you eat and how you exercise, taking moments to refresh and relax during the day has actually helped them be more productive employees. And so it's a great thing, but even getting it into the psyche of the employees, even when they have the benefits, is a long, hard shift. And it starts again with leaders. If they model it and they make it okay for their teams to go do it, then people will do it. But if you just have even one supervisor who won't let their people do anything, then that is enough to create distrust in the organization, where people will say, oh, well, it must not be okay because so-and-so won't let any of their people go to lunch or go to the gym or take advantage of these benefits. So
I could
hard.
totally see that. I could totally see that. Because it's almost like if your boss doesn't do it, then you don't want to be the oddball saying, oh, okay, well, let me go.
Be self-conscious, like you don't want
Yeah.
someone to read it as you goofing off.
Yeah.
While everybody else is like.
While Janet is still sitting over there working away.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband worked at a bank, gosh, when we first got married, probably over 30 years ago. And their whole department would take 2 hours for lunch. They would go to the gym, then they would go eat, and they'd come back. They were the most fit folks I've ever seen. The boss, the whole department, everybody worked out hard every day. And he loved it there, but I've never, that was so unusual back then.
That is.
Yeah.
And even now, it's rare to see that.
That is.
Now, they worked hard. They worked, 10-hour days to make up for it, but they did do it in the middle of the workday.
Cool. So that'd be a good.
That sounds like a great job for me. Like that. So whereas he likes to wake up super early, I am more of like, no, I'm going to lay in bed
That's me.
until I'm ready to get out of bed.
Yep.
And then I'll have my coffee. And then I'll go work out. And then I have to do my red light. Then I have to do my sauna. And then it's like, okay, now I can start my day. And by then, I don't know. It's like 10. What time did I start? Maybe 10, 10:30.
What is this red light?
Oh.
Girl. Oh, I will derail this whole podcast to talk about red light.
Tell her.
I have no idea.
Okay, after the podcast, we're gonna go upstairs. I'll show you our wellness room so I can show you what red light is.
Okay.
But red light, it's so good for you. It's so good. You would love it.
Okay. Red light.
Yeah.
It's not the red light district.
No, we are not talking about Moulin Rouge. We're not talking about Brussels. No. No. It's good for your skin.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. It helps relax you, but also can reinvigorate you depending on what time of day you do it. So like if I do it in the morning, then it's like, oh, now I can get my day going. But if I do it in the evening, then it's like, okay, I'm ready to go to bed now. Because it helps with like cellular function. And so if your cells are functioning properly, then you're able to do what you need to do and your body works the way it's supposed to work.
So is it one light or you get in something? And...
I have a whole closet filled with red light.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Now, some people there are different technologies where
devices.
there's the red light face mask, you know what I'm saying? There's other things where you actually sit in, full body. Primarily, you just want it flash on you. Like in one of our businesses, we have it as like a red light tower while you're in your sauna. And so then while you're in there anyway, right? Actually, you get the salt treatment for your respiratory. You also get the sauna for, pulmonary skin and blood flow. And you get the red light as well. And so red light, athletes use it now for recovery after injury. They have like red light wraps around the knee and all that, and it glows. And so supposed to help over time stimulate the cells so it can actually speed up the process of healing for recovery for athletes and everything like that.
When I went for a massage once, they had some kind of stick that they were doing.
Probably so.
Yeah, and it's not something, it doesn't generate heat or anything like that. You're just getting bathed in this particular kind of light. And she can tell you all the science behind it. She'll tell you later because she'll start nerding out. I got to keep her some squirrel. And so with that being said, this is a good point to ask, do we have any salty questions for our guests today?
Okay, so we've got Brandon. What salty questions do we have from our viewers today?
All right. So your first salty question of the day. When you look at a workspace culture, what are the earliest signs that a leader's personal wellness is shaping the health of the business?
If there's a lot of employee angst, high turnover is one of the signs. A lot of employee complaints is a sign. There's just general frustration, safety incidences. When the culture is bad, I found this to be interesting research. If there's bad culture, then usually there are higher number of safety incidences in an organization. I guess employees are more frustrated, so they're just not paying attention as well. Their mindset is kind of all over the place, and so there are more accidents.
Wow.
So it can be a significant problem in the organization.
So if you want to save on workman's comp and lawsuits, be nice to your people. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that they actually enjoy showing up, and it's not due to you, you know,
and have
them
them create space for them to treat each other well.
Yes.
So you have to set that as a value and an intention for the organization.
That is so
we're going
fascinating.
to treat each other with dignity and respect.
Yeah. But you know what? Now that you say it, it actually makes logical sense. It actually doesn't seem so far like as a wild idea of a correlation.
Right.
Now that you mention it, I would say as an owner, sometimes it is so. It's real easy to be so unaware of how you are and how people are perceiving you, given that you are an owner. Because sometimes I'm moving, I'm like, I just feel Steven. I just feel like a guy, right? I really do. I'm like, I'm just moving whatever, and I see something, I'm like, yo, and I'm just speaking just like if I'm speaking to you now, and I don't really be as mindful of like that hitting different because of who you are, what role you playing in here.
There's a power dynamic.
Yeah, and
So
I don't always remember that. You know, it's not there. I'm even trying to do it, and he was like, "Wait, how you say that was harsh?" I was like, "I don't really think it's harsh," you know. And it's like, oh, it's some extra stuff in there that I just not always aware of that I have to be super mindful of, or I need people to, pull my coattails and be like, hey, Steven, now. And sometimes I run it past Donna, I run it past other people to try to make sure
But when people pull your coattail, are you okay with it, or do you get moody, or you go off on folks?
I'm totally okay with it. I just sometimes need people to help me see it, like help me get it, because when I say I'm oblivious, I truly am oblivious. But it's not oblivious of like, this was what you're saying. It's like, you don't have to really connect these dots because it ain't making sense to me, right? Because I'm not living it. So help me with that as much as I can, because I might still just be oblivious because I'm like, yeah, you told me.
Yeah.
But I don't quite, because I don't, something.
I do.
I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop at this point, but yes.
I think I should have been helping you, not Squirrel, today. But okay. Brandon, do we have any other questions?
Petty.
I do have one.
Petty and messy.
Always.
Yeah. Ow.
All right. As a follow-up question, kind of going off of the first one that I asked, for leaders who want to build healthier cultures, what are the most practical first steps they can take to create environments where people feel safe, valued, and able to just exhale?
I can't remember whose song it was, but there was a phrase in a rap song from a long time ago: check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's the first place to start, because
I was not ready.
There you go. Because if you aren't settled, inclusive, open, providing the kind of environment where people can thrive, then the rest of the organization isn't going to do it either. And if you have a leadership team, starting there to make sure that they're not just talking the talk, but they're actually walking the walk. And then from there, making sure that the values and the behavior standards that you have represent the type of organization that you truly want to see. And then holding yourselves accountable as a leadership team for that same behavior, and putting out for larger organizations, even smaller ones, if you can't feel it in the pocketbook, then it probably isn't going to necessarily encourage a whole lot of change. So really, when it comes to performance management, when it comes to pay and expectations, it has to live there for everybody. So you can't just talk about treating people with respect and you don't do it, but hold yourself accountable and then let that be the example for everyone else in the organization. And then, of course, look at all the policies, the procedures, the way people show up, the accountability pieces, and just what you have built. Be like an investigator in every area of your organization to see if what you say you're about in terms of how you treat people is really what you're doing.
I love it.
Yes.
So on that note, I feel like we need to do more sessions with you.
Yes.
Just because. But okay, we're going to do one more plug for the book.
And then we got to talk about the singing.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We got to bring her back.
Yeah, so we can actually really get to.
Yes.
I would love to come back and chit chat.
Yes.
So,
okay,
whatever.
but check out Miss Deborah Biddle's book, No More Patch Jobs. It is available on
Amazon.com, or you can call me or get it from my website, which is ppl-co.com.
So peoplecompany.com. PPL.
Nice.
CO.com.
I should have read this about 15 years ago. Good Lord, I would have been a better employee and manager.
You got time.
Oh my goodness.
I made some errors. I ain't gonna lie. It
But you learned
it didn't
a
seem like
lot.
errors at the time, though. It really didn't.
As Uncle says, did you win or did you learn?
That's good.
Okay, I learned.
Who's uncle?
My uncle,
Okay.
rest his soul, he just passed away, but
Call
Charles
him Uncle
Cooper.
Coach.
Yeah,
Call him
Uncle
Uncle Coach.
Yeah. He was he's a good one.
Yeah, he was big on coaching everybody on chess.
Oh.
Even the first time he met me, he was like, "Do you play chess? Hey, this is the books you're supposed to read." So that he was evangelizing about chess. Like and at his repast or whatever, at the school where he taught at, and they had some of his students there, and they was playing chess.
That's cool.
As a tribute. They had multiple tables set up, and they actually playing, was competing and all the above.
That is
you know
very
what I'm saying?
cool.
He left a very interesting and beautiful legacy behind.
My husband and his family grew up playing chess. I do not know how to play.
Me either. I didn't get enough time with him for it to be ingrained. So, but I saw it. I was like, wow, that is, of all the legacies to leave behind,
That's a good one.
that's a real good one. Look at these young people learning strategy and thinking and broader, and like he was just known as Uncle Coach.
Good.
So yeah.
And on that note,
Yes.
don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. And we will see you next time on
Salt
Sauna
Soul.
Thanks for tuning in to Salt Sauna Soul, where wellness meets wisdom, one episode at a time. If you found today's conversation inspiring, helpful, or just plain soul-soothing, we'd love it if you'd share it with someone who could use a little more calm, clarity, or community in their life. You can listen and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or watch the full experience on YouTube. Just search Salt Sauna Soul and hit that follow or subscribe button. It helps more than you know. Got a wellness tip, question, or a story of transformation? We'd love to hear from you. Drop us a comment on YouTube or leave us a review wherever you're listening. It keeps the conversation going. This podcast has been powered by Halo Heat Sauna Studios, where touchless wellness meets total restoration. Learn more or book your next session at haloheatsaunastudios.com. Until next time, breathe deep, stay warm, and keep nurturing your soul.